Hello, this is Aaron Holmberg from Corvallis Middle School 5th grade, and this video here is for parents in my class on these assignments titled Unit 1 Basic Review for Homework. Really, what's going on here isn't really very complex necessarily, but a lot of it's a different way of noting the work or working through it. And so I just want to provide this for parents just to understand a little bit what your child is seeing in class and what you can do to help them. So this first section up here is just asking students to understand that all of these are ways of showing multiplication. So it doesn't really matter what's going on here, whether it's parentheses or a dot, they just need to understand that's multiplication. On a problem like this, it's 6 times n, so this is 6 times n equals 48. You have a missing factor, which would be 8 because it's just missing in there. And over here, of course, is the traditional way. This is maybe about another way that's sometimes tricky for students because they don't recognize that that right there is showing the multiplication, and that they can reason what n is because of multiplication. Division is just shown in all of these different ways here. Of course, this is the traditional way. This is just a fraction, 60 divided by 5, or excuse me, 60 divided by 12. So 60 divided by 12 equals 5. That's where I got the 5. And the same would be true down here. It says 36 divided by 9. And students need to be remembering that that is a notation for division. This one right here is just saying 42 divided by k. So again, anytime you've got a fraction, the number on top, the numerator, is being divided by the denominator. It's just division. So division, division, division. And in this case, k would equal 6. Okay, in this next one here, solve these multiplication and division equations with a variable. The main thing here I'm wanting students to do is to solve what's inside of the parentheses first. That's the main thing. So a good way to teach students to do it is to rewrite, because in algebra they're going to need to rewrite their work in layers towards a solution as they go down. So it's this, and what you do in here first is 15. So 18 minus 15, h must equal 3. And then the same thing, they're gonna be making this into 12 times 6, and they're going to be solving it. On this side, they're going to be dividing this, so that's 5 plus 2 equals g. So always do what's inside of the parentheses first. D. The commutative property is something we've discussed quite a bit in class. And the commutative property, if I were to draw a picture of it, just means that when you go to work and you come home from work, the distance is the same. The order doesn't change the distance. And that's what's really going on in here. That they have an equation, and it's only true of addition and multiplication. In subtraction, it does change the order if you change or it does change the result if you change the order of the numbers in it. But it doesn't matter to multiplication and addition. So here you see that the order doesn't matter. We've got it going this way, and that's equal to whether you do it this way or whatever. The factors can switch, and it's going to be the same. So if you've got 3 and 2 on this side, then you have to have 3 and 2 on the other side. It's a little bit just like you're always looking for balance, because the commutative property is really balancing both sides. In this here, students, the point is to give these huge numbers, and for students to realize the answer is just balancing it out. What's the number if we reverse the order? Hopefully they don't try to solve that. Same thing here. If 225 equals this other side, then 225 must equal the other side. So it's just t times 15, and you don't have to solve it. You just need to know that it's forwards and backwards the same thing. And the same is true here. If it's one direction like this, then 48 has to equal h divided by 4. It doesn't even matter what that is. It's just reversing. And then if you have these really large ones like this again, it's just that g has to be the thing that's missing from the other side, so g is equal to 289 because you're just balancing the things out over the equals. Write your own example just means that students are having some sort of expression where on one side it's one direction, and on the other side it's going the other direction, but all of the terms are the same in it. So it could be any sort of thing that looks just like this. It could be really simple like addition, or it could be more complex if they want it to be. Distributive property is the last one, and we've done a lot of work in class with colored pencils and shading and so forth. Distributive property means you can multiply terms on the inside of parentheses each by the term on the outside. So in this case we've got a 2, and it's being multiplied by the sum of these two things. And so 2 times 1 is this problem, and 2 times 3 is this problem, and that's a way you can go about solving these. So it's a good idea if students are confused about this to have them take these colored pencils and simply draw and color and draw and color and show that they're just looking at different parts of this problem. So over here, if we've got 3 times 2, then it should be 2. And if it's 3 times 4, it should be 3 times 4. and we always keep the number that's on the left, we always keep it on the left inside of this work. If it's the left here, it's going to be the same. Order really matters for students comprehending it. Order doesn't really matter so much because of the commutative property, because it'll probably end up the same if they had those reversed. It's going to be the same answer. But for the purpose of understanding and doing our work, I'm emphasizing keep the number on the left on the left. When it gets down here, you can see the 2 and the 7 are missing, but the 5s are both in place, and there's the number on the left I was just talking about. So we've got a 2 and a 7 because they're just the other 2. This here is it's just backwards. Instead of giving you the number stuck to these terms on the, like this one had it, the 2 and the 1 and 3 were the sum inside the parentheses. That was first, and it was first, and it was first, the sum inside parentheses. Now it's second. So I've just taken one of these problems and flipped the order. Students need to be ready for that. And so if the 4 is already in the first place, the other 2 numbers are the 2 and the 3 because they would be being pulled out, like this. We're sort of working it backwards. Hope that's clear. Same